She was born into royalty, showbiz royalty, and she certainly looked and acted the part.
Her looks just aren't girl next door looks. She looks more like a princess.
In the film industry, monarchies are an apt metaphor.
And she won an Oscar for showing the world how to fall in love with Shakespeare.
You know, it's a big deal to win an Academy Award.
I thought she just exploded off the screen.
She has this texture to her soul. You almost can't look away.
But Gwyneth Paltrow still had a lot to learn before she could live happily ever after.
There's a kind of madness that engulfs a beautiful actress once that light shines on you.
People say, well, you know what you're in for. No, you don't.
Nothing to lose.
Lead you to where you are today.
I believe in storytelling.
It's gonna make you a star.
I'm still trying to figure that out. Biography.
At the end of September 2002, Gwyneth Paltrow threw an extravagant 30th birthday party for herself, flying a few close friends and her father, Bruce Paltrow, who was fighting throat cancer, to Italy for a memorable blowout bash.
I mean, it was so intimate. We would go and look at cathedrals and look at art during the day or walk around these towns and just kind of explore. Bruce was loving every single second of it, and she had a great birthday. They had a wonderful chocolate cake, and it was one of the happiest weekends of her life.
But a few days after her birthday, when the crowd had dwindled down to just Gwyneth and her dad, everything went horribly wrong when Bruce, whose cancer was believed to be in remission, suddenly took ill.
Her dad got sick, and what they didn't know was exactly how sick he was. He had battled throat cancer, and I think had come back, and he was doing okay. He was just 58, and it was a tremendous shock.
I'm just very happy for her that she was with him, and I'm so happy for him that he was with her.
Later, they had found out that the cancer was coming back, and he basically died from complications of pneumonia.
It was up to Gwyneth, all alone in Italy, to make the arrangements. It was a role that she had never wanted to play.
I can't imagine if you put yourself there, you're 30 years old, you're in a foreign country, and your father dies, let alone the logistics of getting a body out of Italy, having to make that phone call to your mother, having to call your brother and say, this is what happened.
Gwyneth lost more than her dad when Bruce died. She also lost her confidant and consigliere on just about everything, but especially about show business.
He was the love of her life. She respected tremendously his wisdom, his advice, his humor. There was nobody quite like him.
Man, he just loved her. I think he first took her to Paris when she was a little girl because he said, you got to go to Paris with somebody you're in love with.
He was such an important part of her life on every level, but most importantly, just being a dad and being there for her.
He knew too well the BS about the business, and he was a great mentor in that respect of knowing what was real and what wasn't. And I think she got a lot of that strength, fortitude from him.
While Gwyneth was grieving, she reevaluated her life and decided to make some changes.
It's something that causes you to sit back and reassess what you're doing with your life and what it means and where you want to be going.
I think it changed the focus of her life, and she definitely put acting on hold on purpose.
And that's part of the job. You know, her persona as Gwyneth Paltrow is something that doesn't really dawn on us every day in and out. That's her job, but her life is the most important thing to her.
But for much of Gwyneth's career, her life and job had been completely intertwined. She was as famous for her romances with the likes of Brad Pitt, Ben Affleck, and Luke Wilson as she was for being a movie star. In the wake of her father's death, she suddenly realized it all felt meaningless.
I achieved a lot of what I set out to achieve, and I was so exhausted by the end of it, and I didn't feel like I had a lot of worth to my life.
You can't help but look at the world from a different perspective, and I think that Gwyneth did, and I think that's part of her catharsis and how she found Chris.
Just weeks after Bruce Paltrow's death, Gwyneth went to a concert by the English rock band Coldplay in Los Angeles. She went backstage to meet the band, and almost instantly, Gwyneth had found her new direction. She and Coldplay's lead singer, Chris Martin, had fallen head over heels in love.
Chris is the eldest of 5 siblings and grew up in a wonderful household, you know, very close. And I'm very glad that they found each other because I think that's what gives them their stability. They know what really is important.
1 year later, and 5 months pregnant with Apple, Gwyneth and Chris married in a civil ceremony in Santa Barbara.
She didn't have a fancy wedding. She went and eloped and got married at a courthouse at 5 months pregnant. There was no hoopla of the dress and the pictures. There was no selling of the baby pictures of Apple. You know, she just quietly went on with her life.
I mean, having her fulfilled me in ways that I didn't have the capacity to understand until I had her. And I never feel the itch to go out in the world and be creative.
But sometimes the world still needs to scratch that itch. When Apple was born, Gwyneth and Chris were widely mocked about the name.
Creative people choose creative names and unusual names. My parents were creative people. They named me Blythe. It was unusual. I had gone to school with a young English girl named Gwyneth. I fell in love with that name.
I think it was weird. Here she is with this healthy, beautiful baby and this awesome guy, and life is great. It's very sort of grown up the way she can tune that out, or at least turn it down and not obsess over it.
They may think it's a silly name. I think it's a great name. Blythe. It's Apple, Blythe, Allison, Martin. She's got both her grandmothers in there.
Today, Gwyneth is happily married with 2 loving children and a rich, full, wonderful life in England.
She is a sensational mom. Chris is great with the kids. They seem like a totally normal family, completely.
It's the moment she's been waiting for her whole life. She's so close with Apple and Moses. I've spent so much time with them under their roof. You would think there would be a tantrum or a raised voice. There would be something. I mean, they're toddlers and they're not. They are just such kind, wonderful, wonderful kids.
She's a child whisperer. She's an unbelievable mother. It made me feel terrible about how I was raising my kids after being with her.
That domestic bliss doesn't mean that she's turned her back completely on her career. It just means that now she can afford to be picky.
You already got an Oscar. Everyone already knows who you are. You're a household name, and you can come out and work now whenever you want. So it's how much life theft are you willing to withstand to keep hope alive, so to speak, in the marketplace.
After her son Moses was born in the spring of 2006, Gwyneth was ready to go back to work, but wasn't sure if that hope was indeed still alive for her.
Our idea was like, come in here, do this big movie with us. Would you like to be in a movie that everyone's going to see next year? She seems to remember that I talked her into it. I feel like I was just saying, come play with us and it'll be great.
It's one of the reasons that she did Iron Man. That was just fun, get back in the game, and it was a big, huge hit.
The game is stamped in Gwyneth's DNA. She inherited it from a great actress, her mother, and as a child, she bore witness to just what a great actress can do.
What Gwyneth must have seen was her mother really out there as an actress, without a net.
I had to hold her for about 20 minutes. She was sobbing so deep.